It's Chris, and we've got to get there to get friends and family pricing to everyone.
Okay, Michael. Locking in coordinates to who knows where.
Again, my name is Chris.
Again, I'm a supercar, not a psychic.
I need an upgrade.
Right now, get the technologically advanced Optima, starting at just $199 a month.
Fine, upgrade. While you're at it, why don't you upgrade your hairstyle, Michael?
It's back to school time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try out for the school play, Annie.
It's a hard knock life.
And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
William Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and men and women are merely players. But Mr. Shakespeare never met Stephen Curry. Ni hao, the guy who's in the gym every dang day. Patriots say I'm the underdog, the league's most unguardable player. Bang, he knocks it down. So my apologies to Mr. Shakespeare.
And another weekend is upon us here, and we are talking football, more football on the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show from Dutch Miller in South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, the football queen Lisa Odie, the all-pro Carl Lee. And we start football conversation. We got to start with the West Virginia Mountaineers. Big story in the state last week, this week, a huge win over Tennessee in Charlotte. What do we know about the Mountaineers that we didn't know last week?
I'm not sure if we learned anything new, but I think what we know for a fact, they've got a quarterback that's really special. And I think the fact that he is so special, he has the ability to take them a long way this season.
What do you think, Queen?
Well, I had the privilege of witnessing the game in person, so I really feel like he is. I have to agree with you, Carl. He's a special player. One of the statistics that I ran across this past week was that the offense scored 40 points on only 61 plays on Tennessee. So, that's a pretty impressive stat when you think about the offense.
And one of the things that everybody could say is, well, they were the better team and all of those kind of things, but when you play teams that are lesser than you, how you play, for me, tells me what you are. That you're going to play regardless of who your competition is. And I feel like that's a really important trait right there.
Here's what I think we know. This is a good West Virginia team. This team is really good. This is a team that can contend for the Big 12 championship.
And see, and I said last week, both Marshall and WVU, good, but I'm not sure I want to go great yet.
So you don't want to say 1988 yet?
Well, no, I don't. You know, and I'm still not necessarily sure I want to go that far. But clearly, this quarterback Greer is really special.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this is I'm not saying we've only played. There's only been one game, but this is a really good West Virginia team with a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback, and it could be a very special year. This is as much excitement as I've seen since 1988, when they went all the way, of course, to the national championship game in the Fiesta Bowl. They're honoring that team this weekend, by the way, in Morgantown. So get ready for more 1988 talk over the next week.
Can we say? Would you say, Queen? You were there. Would you say that they have the defense, special teams, the pieces that go along with the great offense? Because sometimes shootouts you can get outrun. You know, there's teams that'll throw the ball just as good and more. If you can't play defense and you got to have a solid special teams group, I think that's still yet to be determined for me.
Well, what I saw, I have to agree with you. The offense, I don't think there's any question that they're special. I think sometimes on defense, I did have some questions about their pass defense coverage. It seemed a little weak at times. Tennessee moved the ball, had some drives going at times. The run defense was phenomenal. I mean, they shut them down almost completely. But the pass defense would be something that, if I were, Coach Holgerson, I would probably review that pretty closely this week.
And that's what they're going to see.
That's what they're going to see.
A lot of passing in their conference.
That's what they're going to see.
And so that's one of those concerns.
Not this week.
No, not this week. But not this week.
Not this week.
But again, I think those are the types of small things, and I don't know if I want to call it small, but those are some of those dynamics that have yet to be answered, even though they played really well.
I'll be shocked if they're challenged this week. I mean, Youngstown State is one of those teams that has some tradition, but this is not a good Youngstown State team based on what we saw last week. They lost to a Butler team. It's not Butler basketball. They're non-scholarship in football. It's like losing to a Division III team.
Yes.
And they lost to them. I don't think this will be much of a challenge this week.
Well, and I think what you want to do in a game like that is probably get your starters out there, get them run out, get ahead, get them to the side, and don't take any risk of getting anybody hurt if you don't have to. I think that's probably going to be a game plan this week.
When you speak of getting a player hurt, they did have a player get hurt actually last week for the season. They lost, they lost the sophomore linebacker Charlie Benton with a knee injury for the season. So that could play a factor.
You're going to lose guys no matter.
Yes. But the problem when you start talking about WVU and you start talking about Marshall is you don't have that same kind of depth as you have in Alabama. And of course, and nobody really does. But winning championship has a lot to do with the depth of when you lose a guy, the next guy just steps up, and he's got to be able to play at that level. So I think that's something that you do have to watch.
Well, when I look at this West Virginia team, one of the things why I think they could have a very special year is I don't think the league is as strong as it has been. Yes, Oklahoma is expected to win the league. They have to come to Morgantown, and they lost a lot last year. They won big over the weekend over Florida Atlantic. But the league is not based on what we saw last week. They had some bad losses in the Big 12 last week, and I don't think that the league is going to be as tough as it has been, and I think that bodes well for West Virginia.
Yeah, and I've always said you can only beat who you play. So it's not your fault if the league's not that well. It's not playing at that same caliber as they've been in the past. All you do is beat who you play.
I'm tired of waiting on Texas, to be honest with you. I'm sure. I mean, Texas is supposed to every year. This is the year they're going to be better. The Big 12 needs them to be better. Well, they lost to Maryland, a team in great disarray, who doesn't even have a head coach right now. I'm tired of waiting on Texas, so
this could be the year for the Mountaineers, considering the league is down and the way the offense played last week.
If it continues to play out that way.
Yes, and again, I'm going to keep pounding on the special teams and the defense, especially the pass defense. I think that's going to be a critical piece. If they can step up, not make any mistakes, control, be able to get off the field. The defense I'm speaking of, getting off the field, put the offense back out there. I think now this is a very dangerous WVU team.
And there's no question that the quarterback is a Heisman Trophy candidate. It's interesting to me. I mean, he's one of the best in the country, but the pro scouts have him ranked right now 4th or 5th of the best quarterbacks coming out for the draft. I did not realize there were this many other good quarterbacks that probably will make themselves available to the draft this year.
Well, and again, it's early, and so he has a chance to me, I feel like, to move up based on his. And I don't even necessarily know if this is going to be based on how WVU ends their season.
No, they don't care.
Yeah, I don't think they care.
Nah.
I think what they want to do is see him stay healthy, see him throw the ball, how his mannerisms are in tough situations. I think that's going to be the critical piece. I think he has time to move up. I mean, I don't, he could very well become one of the top quarterbacks.
And I will caution, we got all excited a couple of years ago when Geno Smith was a senior, and we were ready to kind of give him the Heisman after 4 or 5 games. This is different, I think.
I agree.
Will Greer seems to be a little more mature than Geno was at that time. This feels different to me.
I think we'll see him in New York. I really, truly believe that.
And some of that's going to have to do, too, what teams are looking for and the style of quarterback that they're looking for. I think
You're talking about the draft.
Yes. I think that's going to be critical for where Greer ends up and how they rank him.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. And I'll tell you, the one guy who also, speaking of quarterbacks, if you've seen the kid at Alabama, Tua, oh my goodness, this kid is a special talent also. You could catch his ball, Scar.
You know what? Here, the whole thing around Alabama and just the whole offense, the whole defensive thing, special teams, it's just amazing that you get that. I mean, they can just get that every single year.
One thought to ask you, and I know we got a break, but they're the fastest team I've seen in a long time. But first game of the year, you're fresh, legs are fresh, no nicks, bumps, and bruises. Does that slow you down as the year goes on or no?
Yeah, you can get tired, but I think momentum has a lot to do with it. When you're playing for a championship, which Alabama is always playing for that championship, they always are thinking that they're going to be the champion. You don't have time to be tired. You don't even pay attention to it. Because they don't have to go through the big ups and the big downs. They're usually always on the up.
Right. It's not rebuild, it's reload
Exactly.
at Alabama.
Yeah.
It has been since Nick Saban has been there. All right, we'll take a break. Back with more after this.
William Shakespeare.
Knight Rider, protecting the world from high prices.
Hurry up, Kit. We've got to get there.
Get where, Michael? That was insanely vague.
It's Chris, and we've got to get there to get friends and family pricing to everyone.
Okay, Michael. Locking in coordinates to who knows where.
Again, my name is Chris.
Again, I'm a supercar, not a psychic.
I need an upgrade.
Right now, get the technologically advanced Optima, starting at just $199 a month.
Fine, upgrade. While you're at it, why don't you upgrade your hairstyle, Michael?
It's back to school time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try out for the school play. Annie. It's a hard knock life. And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
Dutch Miller Tailgate Show. Welcome back. We are at Dutch Miller, Route 60 in South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie. And we also have with us Jake Rollo from Dutch Miller, who in a previous life, we got an issue here. Got defensive back, receiver, size advantage here.
Yeah,
This
I
could
was
get
going to say,
ugly.
he's got the advantage on the
Size
side
advantage
for sure.
here.
This could get ugly.
Sherman Tide, not the Crimson Tide, but Sherman Tide.
Roll Tide, roll.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Tell us what's happening here.
So Dutch Miller right now, we've got a lot going on all of our in-inventory Ram 1500s and all of our in-inventory Jeep Cherokees. We're going $500 below cost on absolutely everything we've got. There's no haggle, there's no come in, have to worry about if you're getting a good deal. We print the invoice, we show you the cost that we paid for it, and we go $500 below it. Plus, you still get all applicable rebates on all of those. And that's just in the Dodge building. Down in our Kia building, on all of our Kia Sedonas, which is our minivan model, you've got $5,500 off MSRP.
And that's next door.
Yeah,
here,
that's
right?
just next door, right across the road. And again, this is a no haggle, or friends and family pricing for everybody. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you're from Seth, you went to Marshall. WVU fans, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets it. But we're doing that. We're also doing $4,000 off all of our Kia Sedonas, which is our third row SUV in the Kia segment. The Kia Forte, which I'm sure everybody who watches TV has seen Chris in his Forte Mania commercial, where he's out there in his leotard wrestling around. We've still got that going on. And again, you're getting a brand new car that's going to have power windows, door locks, cruise control, backup camera, all for under $16,000, brand new car. And that comes with our 20-year, 200,000-mile powertrain warranty. And again, that's free. That's something that we throw in for free. So we've got a lot going on. The all-new Rams here, the all-new Wranglers here. Things are going well here. Dutch Miller, giving these things away.
Now, you guys are great supporters of the community. You also played high school and college football.
I did.
This time of the year, do you miss it? Carl talks about, I know he misses it.
It drives me crazy. The hours that we work here to be able to cater to the community, obviously being here after 5, 6, 7 for people who work throughout the week, I don't get to go to practices or help coach like I would love to do and pass on the things I learned in college to especially the kids where I'm from. You don't get to do that. But I lucked out in my schedule when I got into finance. I get Fridays off. So I get to check out football, every Friday. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I for me, I'm around football so much, and again, fortunately, I played long enough to where I knew I could not play. So, I ran the course, and that was it. I prefer being around it.
Some people said it ran its course long before that, but you figured that out. Go.
But I feel like I enjoy the idea of now kind of being around it and helping kids, so I can understand missing that piece of it, because there's nothing really better than giving back that information, and because there's a lot of people giving that information that really that doesn't have any idea really about what they know.
They have no,
So I think that's important.
Well, for youngsters who play high school football and have a desire to play collegiately, maybe professionally, don't wish your life away, because it's never more fun really than it is in high school, is it?
No, if you're in high school and you're trying to go to college, the work that you have to put in to get there doesn't really seem like fun. It's more like work, and then you get the reward. Same thing as if you're in college. If you're in college and you're hoping to play on Sunday, by the time you put in the work to get able to play on Sunday, by the time you get to Sunday, now you realize it's a true job. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's tough. I really believe after you get out of middle school, I think if you have any aspirations, it changes it from being fun.
Yeah, you used to say too that you always, at some point when you play, you take one hit that makes you realize, do I really want to do this or not?
Yeah.
I think you said it happened to you when you were like the 9th grade maybe or something.
I was a 10th grader at South Charleston High School, and a young man by the name of Pete Polcary was a senior and was a good player, and and my idol was Robert Alexander. So he used to always say, jump in with the guys, with the veteran guys, you know. So I jump in. We're doing Oklahoma drill, so I'm running the football, and I'm going against Pete Polcari, and he hit me. And literally, when I got home later that evening, I was really sitting. I for sure I had a concussion. There's no question about it. But I'm sitting in the chair, and I'm like really thinking, like, okay, maybe football's not for me. I mean, I really had to think that through to go back, because that hit was just something that I had never had, that had never happened to me before.
Now, Jake, you're a big guy. Did you have a defining moment like that?
10th grade year, we were playing at Midland Trail, and I remember it just like you said, like it was as vividly as can be. And I was always a lot bigger than people and faster, so I never really experienced a big hit until that. And I was going down the sideline on a go route, and a safety came across, and I put my hands up, and he caught me right in the face. And I remember going down, slamming my head, and like the same thing. There's not a doubt in my mind I had a concussion. Looking back, and that's, you just go to the sideline, you're kind of confused and don't really know what's going on, and you think that I don't know that this is something that I want to keep doing. But you know, your love for the game kind of takes that over. Once I came back too.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure I don't know where the switch was to say, like, well, you know what, I'm going to go back. I'll go back one more time and see how it works. I don't know where that switch was, but I think it was maybe just automatic. You just know that it's practice the next day, so you go. But I just knew this. I never wanted to get hit like that again. And I knew at that point I was not going to ever be a running back.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of kids go through that, though, with different points of their career. I was watching a special over the weekend where a lot of the NFL players were saying it didn't happen to them until they got to college.
Yeah.
They didn't experience that big hit, and they were recalling when they got hit. But everybody had the common situation where they did experience a big hit.
And I'll tell you, probably for me, what was worse than that was the reality of I knew I couldn't play the game at the same level. And I remember that plain as day. I mean, it was a curl route. I was in New Orleans, and we were playing San Diego. Receiver was running the curl route, and I saw it like right from the snap. I was like, oh, I can pick this off and take it to the house. And you know, I'm in year 12. You know, I'm 33 years old. And I'm thinking, man, if I make this play, I can still play. There might be even another year in Queen. And next thing I knew, I was tackling him, and I was like, what just happened? And I mean, it freaked me out for the rest of the season. I was so set in my mind that I'm done. I mean, because that's a play I should have made as a rookie, you know, and I just couldn't make it.
That's a frustrating feeling when you realize you can't do what you used to be able to do.
Flag football league style. Pulling hamstrings, and you see the open field, and you're like, all right, I've still got it. And
it's kind of like being a former cheerleader and thinking, you know, I could do this cartwheel thing. And, you know, it's like riding a bike; you never forget. And then when you do it, and you're like,
I would almost pay.
Like, oh no, not now, not now.
We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
William Shakespeare said that all the world's a stage, and men and women are merely players. But Mr. Shakespeare never met Stephen Curry. Ni hao, the guy who was in the gym every dang day. Patron saint of the underdog, the league's most unguardable player. Bang, he knocks it down. So my apologies to Mr. Shakespeare, because onto the stage of mere players enters the babyface assassin. And he's about to write his own story. Fall back.
Finding the right pizza to is an Hi, I'm the host of a new sports show here in Charleston called The Brandon Lowe Show. I talk WVU, Marshall, high school sports, and even national stories. Things don't always go as planned. But Nick always knows how to tackle the problems.
Listen to The Brandon Lowe Show, weekdays at 5 on AM 950 and 95 to sportsfox.com.
Packed with 9 essential nutrients, low-fat chocolate milk can be an important part of your recovery routine. Be sure to grab a chocolate milk after your next workout.
All right, this is Adam. Take 2. Mark?
I guess. I go like this.
The best part about playing football in Texas has to be the reaction from the community.
I want to encourage others to play volleyball or choir because you get to experience new things and do stuff that you've never done before. My reason why is passion.
My reason why is pride.
Olive Garden delivers the final moments. Bring home Italian favorites and they'll cheer for you on game day. Olive Garden is the official dining room of high school sports, and with the new catering delivery service, you never have to miss a moment.
Talking football, Dutch Miller Tailgate Show. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie. Lots of football to talk about. We were talking earlier, college football in this state, always the big news. Everybody excited about West Virginia's opening win over Tennessee. Marshall also had an opening win over Miami of Ohio. They're at home this weekend for their first home game against Eastern Kentucky. What did we learn about Marshall over the weekend?
Well, I think that, I think we said in the break, they settled the quarterback. Any quarterback controversies, they settled that. And it looks like both of these teams, West Virginia and Marshall, are going to be led by quarterbacks.
Good quarterbacks.
Good quarterbacks.
Good quarterbacks.
Yes.
Well, the other thing is going on the road and winning is not easy, but going on the road and waiting 3 hours of a delay or whatever before your game starts, not easy either.
Throws your rhythm off and all of those kinds of things. And Miami of Ohio has not been Marshall and that game has not always been an easy game for Marshall. So to me, getting out of that game, and I don't believe anyone got hurt. I think coming out of that game with the win, no one getting hurt, quarterback shows up. I think to me, I'm happy and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, Marshall historically over the years has struggled with the opening game, especially away. So, this year it was sort of close, 35-28. But the difference with the redshirt freshman leading the team, Isaiah Green, he had 272 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. So he had an outstanding game, if you ask me, for a redshirt freshman.
The issue sometimes when you're a, quote, mid-major is you have to open the season against a Power 5 conference. And those are tough games to win away from home. I think this year they play South Carolina next weekend, and that could be an upset opportunity. South Carolina, they're catching the Gamecocks at a very good time. South Carolina plays Georgia this weekend, biggest game of the weekend in a lot of ways. It's tough to get up to. They're liable to be very much to be flat next week, have a letdown next week. I think Marshall's catching them at a good time.
You're right on point. I mean, the hardest thing to do is to go against a major rival or a homecoming game that's really important. Everybody's jacked up, and then to come back the following week and face another team because
it's pretty good.
Yes, that's pretty good. There's just something about everything that you're doing. You're thinking that you're ready. You're thinking you're hyped, but it's not the same. There's just something that there's something that takes. That you lose after that one game of that kind of hype that's built around it.
But here's the issue: we're both overlooking Eastern Kentucky this week. Although I know that they're they played them in the 1AA playoffs, long ago, and Marshall won. I think it was a crazy score, but we can't overlook this game, and I don't think Doc Holliday will let his team do that. But as you guys are talking about South Carolina in the future, and the fans are probably doing the same thing. We hope the team isn't doing that.
If I'm
don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, I don't really foresee it as a problem. I don't really foresee it as a problem. And here's what I'm
Penn
thinking.
State may have said that last weekend too, right?
That's possible. But here's if I'm Doc, and I wish I was, and I'm coaching Marshall, and I'm just telling my guys coming out of this week, let's just go to work. Let's just go to work. I'm not trying to build up any hype around it. I'm not trying to make it anything more than it is. It's just another game.
Right.
Let's just go to work.
I totally agree.
Because there are some games that you just cannot control that team getting psyched up for, you know.
Right.
And when they get there, you just have to, you know,
but it's a two-way street. You know, we're talking about us rolling into South Carolina the following weekend and them maybe being flat. It could also be the same way with Eastern Kentucky. You know, that's why they play the game. I mean, you have a couple of turnovers here and there. You know, you're
Eastern
flat.
Kentucky beat Morehead State last week, who's also a non-scholarship program, like Butler was, you know.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it does happen at times in college football. Anything can happen in college football is my point.
I like Marshall with Eastern Kentucky versus the other matchup with Georgia and South Carolina.
Oh, well,
the excitement behind the two games for the teams that are eventually going to meet is clearly in Marshall's favor.
Sure.
I mean, it could be a trap game.
Yes.
For South Carolina.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
which is that's a new term for the last few years. That trap game.
Trap game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they've been.
Your former coach used to use it.
I never really heard.
You were never a trap game.
See, I never really heard that phrase probably, but maybe a couple of years ago, I started hearing it all the time, this trap game. Like, what is a trap game? I understand it now, but
Where have you been?
I don't know. You don't have trap games in youth football.
That's true. That's true. Good point.
I think we come out of this Marshall game. One thing is I'm not sure that Conference USA is as strong in some cases as we thought it was going to be. And I think they have a great shot to make a run at the Conference USA Championship. Florida Atlantic struggled this past weekend on the road. Not that they struggled Oklahoma, but they got embarrassed. They were smacked around. They were not competitive at all. Marshall will have them at home later. I think Marshall has a chance to have a great year in Conference USA.
I think Doc has this team prepared and ready to really come out and play. But I think it's going to be even better as the years go by.
Well, they have one of the best receivers in the country.
Yes, they do.
In the country.
Yes, they do.
That kid, Brady kid, is as good as anybody in the country.
And that red shirt quarterback that's throwing the football well.
Right.
So far.
So far.
It should be big. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
Pasta lovers, raise your forks. It's Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl starting at $9.99. Enjoy endless combinations of your favorite pastas, sauces, and toppings. And now, for the first time ever, grilled chicken Alfredo. Plus, as much salad and breadsticks as you want. Never-ending value, starting at $9.99. The value is never-ending, but the offer is only for a limited time at Olive Garden.
Now you can create your own tour of Italy from Olive Garden's most mouth-watering dishes, starting at $12.99. Choose 3 of 10 classic favorites to enjoy on one plate, like our delicious new shrimp ravioli with lobster Alfredo, a filled pasta like irresistible tortellini al forno, and a classic like creamy fettuccine Alfredo, plus unlimited salad and freshly baked breadsticks. Because the best tour of Italy is the one you create, only at Olive Garden. We're all family here. Breadstick lovers, your new favorite lunch is here. Breadstick sandwiches.
Coaches teach your kids to dream. Coaches teach your kids to overcome. Coaches teach your kids good sportsmanship. Coaches teach your kids proper technique. But who teaches your coaches?
Dude. Nice.
SCTV Network, South Charleston.
Welcome back. We roll on here in the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show from Dutch Miller in South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie, Dana Farrell with us as well. As we've talked a lot of football already, and now we're going to switch gears and talk about high school in the state of West Virginia. Big games this week, especially in Class AAA, Dana.
Right. The games this week seem to be focused on AAA and even more specifically here in the Metro Valley corridor from Huntington to Charleston. Got a lot of big showdowns really this week, and none probably more important than Spring Valley, undefeated. A lot of people looking at a top 2 or 3 team against Cabell Midland, a top 5 team over there, Cabell Midland at home. And those two teams seem to kind of play the same style of football and match up very well. That's a game that here locally Fox 11 is going to be running on their TV here. So that should be a big matchup and game to watch tomorrow night.
Over in the Eastern Panhandle, I'm told that Martinsburg had their biggest challenge of the year last week, and they had a tough one, 62-12.
Oh my goodness! Oh
I mean,
my goodness!
who knows how it will play out? But again, in AAA right now, you look at Martinsburg, Spring Valley, Huntington High School, Capitol High School. Those are the 4 teams that stand out to me.
And it seems like that's constant. We're saying that just about every year. These teams are really reloading and at the top of the rankings every year.
Yeah, there's some teams trying to, I think, get back in there. And one of the games that we marked down, like Parkersburg, 1-1 at Woodrow Wilson, 2-0, and those are teams that you would think would be one of those schools that are challenging every year and have a strong history of that, but have been down, but maybe trying to say, okay, we want to be back in, start be mentioning in that conversation again. But those two teams play each other. One of them's either will come out 2-1 or 3-0 after this weekend. So it's an interesting, I think, game to watch what happens there. Another big game, we had a couple of them. I think Hurricane, who has been a playoff caliber team. We were down there last year. Remember at when they were playing Capitol. Actually, that was it's been a year ago. We were down there when Hurricane was at home, but Hurricane goes back to Capitol, and Capitol just looks so good. So Hurricane, coming off of a tough loss to Spring Valley last week, has now got to go to Capitol. That's got to be a tough. They've got to try to establish themselves in a setting like this. It's going to be tough.
And I think there's such a divide from those top 2, 3, 4 teams, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I just think there's a huge divide in that grouping. I just, you take a Capitol team against a Hurricane team, and we talked about this last year. It just, all of a sudden, it starts off looking like it's going to be something, and the next thing you know, Capitol's out in front of them. And I think that divide, I don't know how they catch up. I know the rankings allow you to be 4, 5, 6, and 7, but
you think maybe that is a depth issue sometimes. Capitol's just got players and horses, not just 1 or 2 deep, but they've got the guys that can do it, like you said, that can spread it out in the second half.
I do think depth has a lot to do with it, and then there's those, and I think it's the difference of having one potential really good college player compared to maybe 2 or 3.
They're just
better.
2 or 3,
yeah, they're just better. You may have 2 or 3 that might be D1, and 2 or 3 that might be Division II, and 4 or 5 that might go D3, compared to a team that might just have one kid that might just happen to go D2.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. I would say, because another game we have marked here with a team trying to establish itself after a loss as GW. We were there the first week when they beat South Charleston, but then took a loss to Ashland Palm Blazer, Kentucky last week.
Bad loss.
And then have to go back on the road now at Huntington, who is 2-0. A lot of people looking like it, definitely a top 5 team. I think that's a game GW, if they want to be considered top caliber playoff team, they have to play well, if not win tomorrow night.
Didn't they lose one of their top players last week? That senior Cosby, who
Defensive
plays.
player,
Well, he
Cosby.
plays on both sides of the ball.
Cosby,
Is that correct?
he was actually on our show last year when they came down. So great young man, but tough loss for him and the team. But, there again, because like what we're saying, you got to have depth. You lose a guy like that, you got to have the depth to overcome that.
And I just don't see how GW can play with Huntington. Watching South Charleston and GW in that game, and I just feel like South Charleston is not a strong team, and that game was still kind of close for a while. And
Pretty sloppy game.
Yes, yes. And so I'm not really sure GW is ready for somebody like Capital right this early.
Well, let's face it. You talking about divide. Let's face it. The last few years, there's been a divide between Martinsburg and everybody else.
Yeah, yes, you can make that case for sure.
Is that going to be different this year?
Right. And again, winning helps the depth of a team, because I want to play on that team. So they're getting everybody who wants to play football is going to go out for that team.
We will have that GW at Huntington game on rsnsports.com tomorrow evening too, so fans can tune into that and check it out. Like we said, the Spring Valley Capital Midland game also will be syndicated. But we're able to do those things through some of our sponsors. And Lisa, we had a new one actually that you talked to this week come on board.
Right.
To introduce them.
E.J. Thompson Heating and Cooling, their company decided to go with RSN with some advertising. So
they were actually here.
They were here. They had to leave. They had a commitment.
For vehicles for their
They were.
company right
They were.
here.
They actually were.
happened to be.
It was funny. She texted me. I was coming down the road. She's like, "Are you going to Dutch Miller for the show?" And so
So
but they were
sponsor
here.
buying from a sponsor, we like
Yes,
that. We like
yes.
to see that happen.
Yes.
And, we have great sponsors. I look at that and they've stayed with us year after year. You look here at Dutch Miller Tailgate Show as a title sponsor, Thomas Health System. Those people have been with us for several years now, and they obviously like you guys. And Sport Clips, what a great sponsor. I mean, if you're Sport Clips, you got to be with us. And so they keep coming back and are really happy to do that. And we have some others that are with us, just continue to do that. And without them, Little General stores, Parmar stores, convenience, and if you're going to Tailgate, those are the guys to hit. And those are West Virginia companies, too, that have a vested interest in what we do and helping West Virginia schools and teams like that really I think are excited to be a part of it.
Well, they're involved in all the communities where the high schools play. There's no question. And one other point, too, we talk about athletes and quarterbacks like Will Greer earlier. GW and Capital have big-time playmakers at the quarterback position. The Capital kid, I think, is not a quarterback in college. He's a Division I athlete, and he's going to play probably. I think West Virginia picks him. They've got him plugged in as a potential defensive back. Grant Wells, Division I quarterback, and he's a difference maker as well.
And to those points, I think if we could get high school kids, middle school kids, and their parents to understand that it's not so much. Everybody, you want to be part of a team. You want that team to be successful. But it is about the work ethic that you put in and your individual talent. They don't care if you win or lose. They want to see you. They want to see how you handle those situations. And I think that's a critical piece that I think that some of these kids are missing because they want to transfer to Capital. Well, if you want to transfer to Capital and you're not playing, that's not going to help you. Or if you transfer and start, even though you're starting there, you still may not be a Division I guy, and I think
because you're there
does not help you, again, and I'm a guy who won 8 games in 4 years at Marshall, and you just have to play. You have to put the work in, and you just have to play and play hard every down.
Well, as we witnessed last week, you don't have to necessarily be a D1 guy to really excel at this level. And we've got some great D2 players, and as we've seen the UC State game last week as it played out, that was great football, exciting football. And a lot of these guys in the state of West Virginia, that's where they're going to fit in at. And we've seen it happen. And in fact, Frank and I were talking here before we went on air this afternoon that he asked me where Chance Brown had ended up at quarterback over at Sissonville, and he's at UC. He's not on the field yet, I don't think, but I think it's his second year over there. But that was a fit for him, as we've seen. I think UC picked up several of the linemen from Spring Valley High School when they had that playoff, or when they went to the Super Six, and those guys fit in well over there.
Part of this is understanding the metrics of what. Like if you look at WVU's offensive line or defensive backs or quarterbacks or running backs, and you see the size and the speed and all of that, if you look at that, that'll tell you
if you're good enough.
Because you have to first you have to meet those metrics first, even before they're even going to consider that. So if you're 5'11" and 210 pounds and you play offensive line, you may play at West Virginia State or UC or somewhere like that. Even there, you're going to be in a different position, but at least you've got a chance. But you're not going to play offensive or defensive line at Marshall or WVU. You just don't have the height, and you just don't have the size.
And you hear people say, well, but he's tougher than a pine.
That's
all we like to say.
Until he gets
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
have to have the physicality
I was
of it
155 coming out of high school. West Virginia said I was too small, and I probably was. I reported at 164, but they don't know that. They're not picking up 155.
I've never seen 164, by the way.
so you know what I'm saying. And there is some. And I went to visit Concord. I went on to West Liberty. I mean, I went places. I just wanted to go play college ball, you know. And I think that these kids have to understand, if you don't have that size, your options are limited.
I don't think a lot of kids realize how good you have to be to play at the Division II level, even the Division III level, and they look down.
And that's what I say, because we were there on the field last week, and I mean those guys, bigger, faster, stronger. Like I say, it just continues to. You see the level of play just continue to increase, and you know, it's when you look at that, you have to say, wow, where do I fit in? You know, you got to really be on top of the game.
I call the Shepherd games, and when you look at Shepherd University, you look at those guys on the field. They are huge. They look like a Division I school. I mean, they've got kids just huge, receivers, running backs. I mean, everybody's big.
I think the reality is you have to be the total package to
Yes.
make it to the next
Yes.
level.
Yes.
I mean, you either, some people have the physicality aspect of it and maybe not the talent. The others may be talented but just not have the physical aspects. You have to have a combination and a really strong combination of both to make it to the WUs, the Alabamas. Otherwise you're going to be going to, UC, and there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. I mean, they play great football. You get an education just the same as anywhere else, and
right.
And you
it's
can
a
even
positive.
play professionally from
Yes,
there.
you can.
You can.
Yes, you
You can.
I know we're heading up toward a break, but let me pivot back real quick. We set up our rankings this week, and we pulled them up on rsnsports.com, and they're pretty similar. There's 2 or 3 sets of rankings out as you look across the media in West Virginia. But I thought interesting, in each class, there's always that team or two that's in there, especially early in the season. It's like, are these guys for real, or are they going to be there in 5 or 6 weeks? And AAA, when I look down that list there, John Marshall's sitting at number 6, and a lot of people have them in their top 10. You know, that's a school we were up there for a tailgate show a couple of years back, and great people and fans. To see them up there, because they've always kind of had to play in the shadow of Wheeling Park up there, and even Wheeling Central in the single way. But to see them up there, I think it's interesting to see how that's going to play out moving forward. And you go to Double A, I think that we go over there to Sissonville. Of course, they, Coach Mark Wilson from South Charleston went over there, and he's helped build that program, take it even to another level. They're a playoff team every year. But I see Polka slip in there as a number 10 slot, and they're 2-0. And so you just wonder, that's a team that's really struggled. They had a 0 for season or 2 in a row, and now they're slipping in there as a number 10. They've won first 2 games out of the gate. So, we see teams like that. I see Jacob's team, or Sherman, at number 10 in single A sliding in there. So I think it's interesting at this time of the year. Polls are just very, very speculative.
Right.
It's interesting
Well, it's so
to see.
early.
Somebody's got to fit in a number. You got to put somebody in a number.
Well, somewhere I read that after the 3rd game, that's when the first set of playoff rankings come out. Is that correct?
I think the 4th game.
4th game, okay. 3rd or 4th. But so really, these are just
speculative.
I like that word.
Well, a lot of people have pushed for college rankings to come out later in the year, and they do come out too early. We don't know what's going to happen. But the one thing, the playoff committee, they do get that. They don't come out with the playoff rankings collegiately until later, and that's a good thing. But the genie went out of the bottle years ago on the college rankings, and
They start in March or something. I mean,
oh yes, they're way too early preseason rankings. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
SCTV Network.
Knight Rider, protecting the world from high prices. Hurry up, Kit, we've got to get there.
Get where, Michael? That was insanely vague.
It's Chris, and we've got to get there to get friends and family pricing to everyone.
Okay, Michael. Locking in coordinates to who knows where.
Again, my name is Chris.
Again, I'm a supercar, not a psychic.
I need an upgrade. Right now, get the technologically advanced Optima, starting at just $199 a month.
Fine, upgrade. While you're at it, why don't you upgrade your hairstyle, Michael?
It's back to school time.
Welcome back, Dutch Miller Tailgate Show from the Dutch Miller Showroom in South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie. A lot of football talk. We haven't talked about the pros yet. The NFL starts this weekend, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule as far as the NFL goes. Every time the high school starts, there's a little bit of excitement. Collegiately, same way, even more so. The NFL is more of a business approach. What's opening day like for the NFL guys? All pro.
It's
All pro.
It's still. I think that's one of those games that takes you back to high school, takes you back to college. It's the first game. You've come through camp. Now it's time to play. I think that's the one game that you're excited about before you kick in. Because as soon as you get into that game, it's just a game. After the game's over, now it's a business, because now you got to go back and get ready for the next game, and it's game after game after game after that.
I mean, you got all these preseason games, for crying out loud. Do we learn much from the preseason, really?
I'll say this, as a veteran, it was a waste of my time. Wasn't interested. I was excited.
Wasted his time.
Well, I'm just saying when I was.
He is the All-Pro.
When I
beneath him.
He asked me a question. Are y'all going to let me?
Preseason's beneath Carl.
I can see Bud Grant. Carl, you going to show up for the game? Oh,
think about it.
I'll fit it in my schedule, man.
It might be a waste of my time.
But it just didn't do anything. I mean, I wanted to play when I was, first couple years. I wanted to get into the game. I wanted to prove that I could play. Once you had a position, it was like, gosh, I don't want, I'm only get like one series and I can get out.
Get hurt.
Yeah, I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah,
I don't want to
that's
do
the thing
anything.
right
And you
there.
really didn't want to say that. You couldn't say that to a coach, but that was what was in your mind. I don't want to waste my time in this and get hurt and then be out for the season. So as little as I could play in preseason, I'd be happy.
I know you can't tell much by the preseason, but I have to admit, every year, I'm a bit of a geek. I get excited about, he just got a preseason, not realizing he's playing against guys that are never going to ever be on a roster. But you don't know who the matchups are.
And teams play it different. Some teams will not play their guys the last game. Some people will play their guys 3/4 the last game of preseason. So all teams have a different approach to it. But again, I don't think there's a lot that you can discover about a team in preseason. Even if the first defense and offense plays 3/4, I don't know if that matters. I don't know if that's going to any indication at all.
Were you ever put on the practice squad?
No, we didn't.
No.
We didn't really have it. We didn't really have it. Like, we may have had it somewhere during my time, but it wasn't in my early years. It was either make the team or go home. So there was not that option.
Would you like it? I would think there's good and bad. Obviously, you're still around. They can still see you. If somebody gets hurt, you're right there. On the other hand, practice is tough, just practice.
Yeah, and in hindsight, the option of getting cut and going to practice squad would be perfect. You know, I mean, that gives you a chance. That means, oh, they see something that maybe you're able to establish something you're going to get a season. Or if somebody pulls you off, another team pulls you off of that, that's cool too, you know, because now you're playing. But as a, you know, of course, you can't be that as a veteran, so all you got is that or getting cut.
Well, from a business standpoint, not a lot of benefits to the practice squad. You don't get, doesn't count towards your years in the league,
Right.
your pension. You're not.
I mean, they get paid pretty good. They get paid pretty good, but
not like the other guys.
Nowhere even close to that.
How do you treat practice squad guys?
Probably like rookies. I would assume pretty much like rookies, and you don't really give them a whole lot of attention or any of that.
Be big time.
I know. Big time, Carl.
No, because I was fortunate enough because I roomed with a guy that was a veteran. After you get 2 years in that, you're off of that getting picked on, have to sing songs and all that. So I was fortunate enough to be I had a roommate. What do you mean?
Songs.
Yeah, you gotta like lunch.
The rookies have to put on a rookie
Lunch
shirt.
and dinner is the worst two things ever in camp. Because when you come in, somebody's, you know, Frank's a vet.
Oh.
He's gonna say,
you got to stand up and sing your alma mater.
Yeah.
Or sing your fight song.
I didn't know this.
oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. And then if you
Informative.
can't, the best thing is if you can't sing, which I can't sing, is that they tell you, sit down and don't sing again.
What if you don't know
But
the
you got to
words?
carry people. Yeah, most people don't know the words.
I mean,
Most players don't know the words.
I would think most players know like the first 4 words of their fight song.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
And that's about it. But they'll tell you like to sing anything. Just sing anything, and don't sing good, because you're going to sing almost all the time.
All right, we've got to wrap things up real quick before we go. College predictions. Go ahead.
I wanted to throw something out there for the NFL. I just wanted to let everybody know there are 265 regular season games, 10 postseason contests to the Super Bowl, 15,960 minutes.
That's a bunch.
It's a bunch.
Bunch of minutes.
Bunch of football.
Bunch of football.
I was excited about that.
And you know what? Only the Queen would be excited about those
I
numbers.
like my
That's
statistics.
interesting. Yeah, that's it.
I got the word out this time.
Yeah, that's
Statistics.
interesting numbers. Yeah.
I think all of us would pick comfortable wins for the in-state teams, West Virginia and Marshall, this week. Next week it starts getting a little testier and will be a little more interesting. High school-wise, the games all across the state, there'll be a good one near you somewhere. Enjoy it. That's all the time we have. Thanks very much.
And there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try out for the school play. Annie. It's a hard knock life. And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch